Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Titan. In today's episode, the user asks the question, what are some of the creepiest declassified documents made available to the public? And here are all the crazy answers, and don't forget to subscribe for a new video every day. This FBI investigation file titled Animal Mutilation. Back in the 1970s-80s, the media's attention was drawn to some anomalies taking place not only on American cattle farms, but all over the world. Cow corpses were being discovered in fields, missing organs, with surgical holes in their sides, with no blood. For a brief time, this was passed off as a strange coincidence. But eventually, the public got so worked up that the FBI commissioned an investigation. 6 months and $45,000 later, they found nothing. No trace of a person, machine, alien, anything. Everyone was left hanging. But strangely, it died down. The reports of animal mutilations have simply stacked up since then, and to this day there have been excess of 10,000. How about the Filmarillion? There was this user on 4chan called UTV who frequented the sports page and made lots of posts. Just normal posts too, nothing controversial. Anyway, he had a stalker known as the Archiver who would follow and comment every single post of UTV. After a while, UTV would get sick of these comments and he'd tell him to get lost, but the Archiver would just respond to them too. Eventually he started posting his own compilations of the interactions he had with UTV all over the sports page. His final post was him confessing that the people in his life found out about his obsession and he is now being monitored. But before he goes offline, he wanted to share his Filmarillion, a 92-page document of everything he had ever made to do with UTV, and he requested that it be for UTV's eyes only. Of course that didn't stop people from opening it. Inside were post compilations of UTV's posts superimposed onto 3D models, extensive poems and sonnets, a detailed description of how their life together would be, and how UTV's funeral would pan out. I'm pretty sure there were real-life details about UTV in there as well. Upon release of the document, UTV's only response was ? And he contacted the police and went into hiding. Project Pluto is pretty horrific. The proposed use for nuclear-powered ramjets would be to power a cruise missile, called SLAM, for supersonic low-altitude missile. In order to reach ramjet speed, it would be launched from the ground by a cluster of conventional rocket boosters. Once it reached cruising altitude and was far away from populated areas, the nuclear reactor would be made critical. Since nuclear power gave it almost unlimited range, the missile could cruise in circles over the ocean until ordered down to the deck for its supersonic dash to targets in the Soviet Union. The SLAM, as proposed, would carry a payload of many nuclear weapons to be dropped on multiple targets, making the cruise missile into an unmanned bomber. After delivering all its warheads, the missile could then spend weeks flying over populated areas at low altitudes, causing tremendous ground damage with its shockwave and fallout. When it finally lost enough power to fly, and crash-landed, the engine would have a good chance of spewing deadly radiation for months to come. The JFK assassination documents never fully being released as they keep getting pushed back. The documents themselves are creepy in the sense of how contradicting they are, but what makes it truly creepy is the full release keeps getting pushed back. I think there was a lot of creepy things that came out when the East German Stasi files were released after the Berlin Wall fell. All citizens were allowed to view their own files and many were shocked to find out that their own relatives were informing on them because they had no choice and various other things. A good movie about this is called Other People's Lives. I don't know that it was classified, but the audio tape recorded by the Toy Box Killer was leaked. David Ray was a U.S. serial killer who tortured, sexually assaulted, and murdered women with electric generators, surgical blades, saws, syringes, etc. He mounted a mirror to the ceiling so they had to watch. He had a recorded audio tape that he would play for victims once they regained consciousness for the first time. The transcript is here. The Toolbox Killers are a separate pair of serial killers who similarly raped, tortured, and killed women. They also made tape recordings of their crimes. Shirley Ledford's tape is the most well-known one. You can hear them telling her to scream, the killers breaking her elbow with a sledgehammer, and her asking to die near the end. During the trial, the killers claimed it was role-playing and only evidence of a threesome. Shirley's mother had to identify her daughter's voice on the tape. The full tape was not released, but the transcript was. This messed me up for a while. I actually felt like throwing up. Hisashi ouchie. The victim of beyond fatal radiation kept alive for 83 days against his will. This one DOES and mentioned the fact that his skin melted and peeled off. Ouchie, exposure to the radiation was so severe that his chromosomes were destroyed and his white blood cell count plummeted to near zero. Most of his body had severe burns and his internal organs received severe damage. What was cruel that he was resuscitated on the 59th day when his heart stopped 3 times within a period of 49 minutes, despite wishing not to be let to suffer a huge amount of radiation in such a short amount of time. The amount of radioactive energy that he was exposed to is thought to be equivalent to that at the hypocenter of Hiroshima atomic bombing. After being treated for a week, Ouchie managed to say, "I can take it anymore. I am not a guinea pig." However, the doctors kept treating him and taking measures to keep him alive, which only ensured a very slow and very painful death. In late 2017, cables between the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta and the State Department were declassified that casually tracked the massacres of the PKI that took place in Indonesia between 1965 and 1966. Other declassified documents also revealed that a U.S. Embassy employee gave a list of suspected communists to the Indonesian army, and all 5,000 people on the list were rounded up and killed, with many tortured in the end. Between 500,000 and 3 million people were executed. The casual indifference to political genocide expressed by U.S. government employees is chilling. The Tuskegee study comes to mind. The study, which ran from 1932 to 1972 by the U.S. Public Health Services, infected poor African Americans with syphilis to see how the disease naturally evolves. Those who took part in the study thought they were receiving free medical care. Get this. None of those who were infected were treated with penicillin despite its known effectiveness. The study stopped when a government employee blew the whistle. There is a famous alien sighting history in a city called Varginha here in Brazil, and the city is mostly known for that particular incident in 1996. A couple of years ago, Brazil's National Archive made public documents that state UFO sightings from civilians and military that dates 25 years before the incident. It may or may not be documented, but is still creepy knowing this. Back during the Cuban Missile Crisis, a U.S. Navy ship was sending depth charges towards a hidden Soviet submarine. The men in the submarine thought war had broken out, and a vote was held whether or not they should take down the ship with a nuclear torpedo. 2 captains need to approve in order for the attack to happen. Both captains had approved, but a third man, Vasily Arkhipov, was given a vote as well. He voted no on the attack. Since the vote had to be unanimous, the attack was off the table. Creepy as fuck when you realize how much power men have to be able to destroy the world. Paradise Papers. Everyone disregards them, but they pretty much call out every single top 0.00001% wealth and super high power elites in the world for being involved with terrorists, child trafficking, money laundering, you name it. If you haven't given them a read, some of your favorite politicians may surprise you. Operation Northwoods. America wanted a better shot at destroying Cuba, especially after the Cuban Missile Crisis. Bay of Pigs invasion was terrible, so the plan, fake a terrorist attack planned and carried out by CIA operatives and framed Cuban citizens, government agencies. Then America will be bound to support the destruction of Cuba. JFK vetoed this suggestion. He then tried to disassemble the CIA and fired the director. JFK was then killed, and the fired CIA director went back to his job and took the lead on JFK assassination. There are profound similarities with 9/11. The government didn't like certain Middle Eastern countries, wanted to go to war. The public didn't. Terrorist attack happens, America goes to war. Frightening. At the beginning of this year, the U.S. Navy was granted several patents for tech that would allow aircraft to ignore friction and inertia while being powered by a room temperature superconductor. The implications of such a patent are huge because it would not only revolutionize air travel completely, it would also open up terrifying new possibilities for space flight. A patent by no means confirms the existence of said technology, but the U.S. Navy must consider it viable enough in future in order to patent this tech now. That being said, the patents all expire around mid-2030. Take that as you will. The most exciting section of one of the patents. It is possible to envision a hybrid aerospace undersea craft HAUC, which due to the physical mechanisms enabled with the inertial mass reduction device, can function as a submersible craft capable of extreme underwater speeds, lack of water skin friction and enhanced stealth capabilities, non-linear scattering of RF and sonar signals. This hybrid craft would move with great ease through the air-space-water mediums, by being enclosed in a vacuum plasma bubble sheath, due to the coupled effects of EM field-induced air-water particles repulsion and vacuum energy polarization. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. If you did, please like the video and subscribe for future videos coming out daily. I'll see you guys in the next one.